Hey, it's Mark here, and welcome to the next edition of the Employee Survival Guide, where I tell you, as always, what your employer does definitely not want you to know about, and a lot more. Hey, it's Mark, and welcome back to the Employee Survival Guide, where we say all things your employer does not want you to know about, and a lot more. Today's topic is the art of negotiation, how to get what you're worth. Very worthwhile topic, no pun intended. But before I start, the topic is really an example of my moving in a direction to expand upon the content that you're getting in this podcast. We currently talk about topics of whatever is happening at work, performance reviews, or whatever. The list is endless. And usually it's generally reactive to what's happening and try to give you skill sets that we also have podcasts about actual case examples where you get to listen to a storyline narrative about what the case is about or what happened. And now I'm going to start to add content to the website, to the podcast episodes. Like, for example, today we're going to do the art of negotiating, and other topics will be more like proactive in terms of your careers. And because I've seen a lot of things about employees and executives throughout my time doing this, whereby they've allowed me into their work lives, and I've gotten to see a variety of styles of working. Again, it's from the vantage point of the attorney-client relationship with the employer executive, but nonetheless, you pick up a lot of detail about the relationships with their managers, with their peers, and so I wanted to give you a lot more in terms of the content to allow you to develop more skills than just beyond the legal reactive aspect of what's a sexually hostile work environment. So we're expanding the scope of what the Employee Survival Guide is about. So with that said, negotiating. I negotiate all the time. I negotiate whether I'm in court or out of court. I negotiate with judges. I negotiate nonstop as an attorney, as a litigator. And you learn a lot about the ways that your opponents negotiate as well. And you learn what's effective and what's not effective. And this podcast episode is about negotiating. And I wanted to just start off with, the basic premises about negotiating so you understand from my vantage point. I think they apply for just the work issues, but real life circumstances. But negotiating is about a process over a period of time, not an all at once effort. Don't expect things to happen just because you ask. Don't lay down demands and threats, etc. But in a podcast episode, we're going to talk about specifically the new job offer or negotiating a raise and negotiating other terms of your job. But I want to make sure you understand the basic premise behind negotiating. You may feel that you're a good negotiator or not, but I've tested myself in every single negotiation, typically it's a mediation or settlement discussion. It's high stakes, a lot of money, a lot of emotion involved. I'm dealing with clients who are aggravated by their employers, what they've done to them. So that's in that context. Typically, it can be in-court negotiations with a magistrate judge, or it can be privately between lawyers or using a mediator to do so with the parties. And so I've done a lot of mediation, a lot of successful mediation. And what I've discovered is that the process of negotiation, you should allow yourself time. So take out the anxiety of negotiating. That's the first, hurdle most people have is, I don't know how to negotiate. I couldn't negotiate on behalf of myself, etc. So avoid that anxiety aspect, but look at more of it as it's a process. And you want to get into the research of what the issues are and what motivates the other side. A starting point is a famous book years and years ago. It's called, Getting to Yes. It's a famous book, now dated in years, but it touts the ideology of, two sides can win during a negotiation. Well, I get some contradictory type of messaging in my line of work Because, for example, judges will tell my clients, "You're not going to like the result of the mediation settlement, but you'll learn to live with it." I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you can create a circumstance of negotiation solution and still, just label that as a success, a win, even though you're resolving a case in the legal context and you're getting paid a settlement fee, money. The And you're not going to a verdict in front of a court or a jury. It is still a win because you're preventing the outlay of money and time and duration and emotion for a protracted circumstance, a legal battle. So defining success is really important in the process of negotiating. So a longer time frame, days, weeks, potentially, scaffold out your approach to negotiating. Think about, the intro, the middle part, the conclusion part. Look at your opponent. Who are you negotiating with? What's their style? Are they just simply, a lot of people like to say no because it's easy to say no as a response to negotiating. I don't generally listen to no because people tell me no all the time, but that's not how cases are resolved. And look for the process of scaffolding, your offers and counteroffers as you move through the process, as you learn more information about the other side. So in the context of work negotiating, you want to learn about what's good for the employer, and I'll get into that in a second. But just look at the process. It's going to take time. Don't expect dramatic, responses. Yes, we'll give you what you want. That never happens. And then understand your opponent and understand the style being used. Understand the psychology. I mean, this whole podcast is really about psychology because that's what negotiating is. I'm teaching you to change your psychology to one where you're more open-minded and mindful of your approach, not necessarily, and removing your anxiety about it, and putting the time and energy into your negotiation to understand, what is the goal? How am I going to get there? What am I willing to give up? What's reasonable? And so go through the mechanics of goal assessment and setting out, and just take it more slowly. And then it's the same process I use with legal cases. And by example, I'll give you this: that I'll be in mediation and I'll prep a client for what the process of mediation is like with a mediator, and what the process of negotiation is like, and I'll tell the client, says it may not resolve today. And of course, clients are like, it's got to resolve today. By God, it's got to resolve, and because they're panicked and freaked out, they're spending money they don't have typically. So it's a high stress environment. But I tell them that because oftentimes negotiating, the first day of negotiation, it's not your last day; it's just your first day. And so plan on multiple days of negotiating, and it happens. And I say this, and it's happened in quite a few high-profile cases. These are cases that never hit the newsday desk. They never hit public knowledge. They're just high-profile cases, but they resolved. But they took several days of working with a judge to help the parties resolve the matter. And because it was, maybe it's sensitive, people were adjusting the positions. Maybe they were just initially fishing to figure out, let's just give them a no answer and how they react to it. And so a lot of things play into how people negotiate from the employee standpoint. So multiple days is very, very common in complex situations, and you may have complex situations at work. So let's get into the work negotiating. I promised you the new job offer, the negotiating a raise, and the negotiating other terms of your employment. Again, all part of giving you more content and skill sets to understand real life circumstances beyond just here's the podcast about so-and-so case, or here's a topic of a legal nature, getting into the nuances of your work life, because it does matter to you and you spend a lot of time there. So in short, when you think about negotiating, you think, you basically have some, your palms start sweating and, you get really tense. Whether you're a new hire, a seasoned pro looking for a raise, or are about to walk into a new job, the ability to negotiate is one of your most powerful tools. And it's a tool most employers hope you don't know how to use. You know me, I'm like, I'm going to give you everything your employer does not want you to know about and a lot more. Um, you can't really learn about negotiating at work, well, because they don't teach it there. I mean, duh. Uh, so you're going to learn it here. And I'm going to spend a lot of time, not just one episode, but several episodes over a period of time at different aspects of negotiating. So you pick up skill sets. And you should know these things because it's how you rise up the ladder of income, rise up the ladder in the office space. It's through negotiating. I mean, I can honestly say that I built my career negotiating. All right, I do my job, of course. I have my skill set of my job, but I negotiate in various forms. So let's be clear. Negotiation is not a fight. It's not about being aggressive or making demands. That's a rookie mistake. Negotiation at its core is an information gathering process. It's about finding out what the other side wants, what their limitations are, and how you can position yourself to get what you want, all while leaving them feeling like they got a good deal. That's the getting to yes format. It's hard, but if you look and work at it, you can get your opponent or your employer, your boss, to the yes point, to say yes to whatever your demand is. So again, 3 scenarios you're going to look at: job offer, negotiating a raise, negotiating other terms of your job. So you've just gotten the call and they say, we'd like to offer you the position and congratulations. Now this is not the time to say yes right away, of course. You want to pause. You want to say, and I tell clients to do this. I'll take it under advisement. I'll get back to you because you want to think about it. Maybe you're an executive and you're having a term sheet announcement discussion with your employer over the phone, and you want to go talk to me, your employment attorney, to talk about what the contract's going to be because it's several $1 million and there's a lot at stake, and so you need to kind of go through it very slowly. You say basically, thank you very much. Take it under advisement. Excited about the opportunity. You want to get back to them.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, it's Mark, and we have a new product for you. It's called the Employee Survival Guide, or employeesurvival.com. And it's a site that you can obtain PDF products that I've created myself. After spending too many hours, way too many, researching and writing about, if, for example, the performance improvement plan or beating them. And the second one about negotiating severance negotiation agreements, 2 of the most important topics that we see in terms of the web traffic and podcast traffic we have. So check out employeesurvival.com and see if this can try to help you, and you don't need an attorney to use it. Thank you. So you need this time to gather information about your opponent. Here it's the new job, and learn as much as you can about the employer. You've already done that at the point where you interviewed, et cetera. And now you need to understand the full picture, not just the base salary, but you're looking at base salary, total compensation, benefits, the hidden stuff. So base salary is the market rate for the position, realistic, what they're offering. What about the location? Is the base pay in Texas the same as the base pay in like New York City? And you should have already researched this information. And here's the problem with, there are 2 forms of information. There's, maybe 3. I'll start with the third. The third one being the, anecdotal, like, your colleagues and friends talking about what salary is. Second is salary.com, which it's a website out there. I think they're still out there. And then there's professional databases you can pay to acquire information. This is typically for the management executive level. I think the company is called equilar.com. And in there, they basically give you kind of an apples and apples approach to similar positions in the same industry, et cetera, to where you can look it up. It doesn't go below the C-suite level, I do not believe. But then there's maybe a fourth category, information gathering. You can have a headhunter, and they have information provided because they maintain databases. Total compensation, that's the next topic. It's bonuses, equity, stock options. Do they have a profit sharing program? You want to get into what they have. If it's a public company, now you can go into the SEC.gov and research the company you're looking at to find out all things there. And typically go to the annual report 10K and look at the exhibit list, and then dump in that list. You'll see, the various equity incentive compensation plans the company is willing to offer if you're an executive. If it's 401k, it's just they're going to give you a participation in 401k. There's no more defined benefit pensions any longer, so that's over. Typically, most people are offered 401k if they're lucky. Next item on the agenda for your what you're trying to review here is, the benefits: health insurance, 401k match, paid time off, and other perks. These have real dollar values. So, for example, is the company providing 4 weeks paid vacation? How many of those national holidays are you going to get off, like 10 or 15 days, in addition to your vacation pay? Benefits are really important. Health insurance, of course, important. I can't understate that one. But the aspect of benefits is really where the company is setting the cultural tone of the organization, and you need to find out what that is. If it's 2 weeks vacation, it's that's very limited. They're going to work you to the bone. So the more benefits they're providing to the employees, the better, and that defines the culture. You have to look past the website and the kind of the marketing shtick that they put on the website about their culture. Maybe ask around, do some research about benefits, and then the hidden stuff. The hidden stuff of the job offer is, is there a sign-on bonus? Maybe you're leaving behind money due to whatever circumstance, equity or a bonus it hasn't come due yet. You can forward that to your employer, the new employer, and saying you want a sign-on bonus so you can recoup that and not take a loss there. And so maybe there's another topic of relocation assistance or a non-compete clause that could restrict you later. You want to know about them in advance. Non-competes are still around and still a sticky matter for people to understand. The FTC rule came out, but it's in limbo right now through Court of Appeals process. It's not a rule, so that issues. And given the current political climate, on the pro-business mindset of the federal government right now, I don't think that the non-compete issue is going to come up soon. If the federal courts, I think the Fifth Circuit down in Texas is handling this at the appellate level, maybe that rises to the level of Supreme Court. Who knows? But we don't know the outcome of that just yet. So non-competes can be an issue of the hidden stuff. So now you've done your homework. You research the company and the market. You now know what you're worth. You prepare a concise, well-reasoned counteroffer to the initial job offer they made you. And don't throw out a number without a reason. Think about it in advance. Tie your request to your value. Something like, based on my research of the market for this role and my unique skill set, and mention the specific skills that you have. I was looking for a base salary of so-and-so, closer to X dollars. And that's an offer or a counteroffer you're making. You're not demanding. You're just simply stating your value based on the data, and you're making a counteroffer. The employer may say no. They may meet you in the middle, or they may surprise you with a better offer. But you'll never know if you don't ask. It's a really, and everybody kind of knows the circumstance. If you don't ask, you don't receive. So you got to ask, and take the time to go through this process. If you need to stall out the process to potentially aggravate your employer, the potential employer, a little bit because you know your worth, and maybe you have multiple offers, and I know people are probably thinking about, well, what if I have 2 offers? You need to play that out because if you tell an employer that you have another offer pending, and they're lowballing that offer, you need to make them feel insecure. Again, it's psychology that both parties play in. Now, the employer thinks this mistaken belief that just because they're the employer, they get to dictate terms. That's not true. Great example today is the issue of this trajectory of companies trying to capture the best AI professionals they can. They're just beating themselves up, the competitors, trying to throw as much money as possible to get the best AI developers they can. And so that's an example where the companies are not in control. They're having to bargain with their competitors to get you this new prized employee to come over to do AI research. So it's an example. So most employers do this dumb mistake, and I'm going to say it's a dumb mistake. They always try to start with this employers are always right and they're going to get what they want approach. That's not true. And if you let them have that, and you've given any indication during your discussions with them that there's a weakness in you in your discussions about giving an employer too much power, they're going to manipulate that. They're going to see it. They're going to feel it. So go into the negotiation strong, confident, not cocky, but just you know what your value is. It doesn't matter what the job is. You just know what your value is. It could be you're the best human compassionate person possible to you're the greatest AI developer. It doesn't matter. Just know what your value is and make it clear to the other side what your value is. And don't do it in a cheesy way, please. Just take a good stock about who you are. You should know who you are. If you don't know who you are, then work on that. It's a separate episode. But so just know what you are, who you are, and what your value is, and take it slow and take it methodically. Maybe it's several conversations to get to the point where you need. Throwing out offers that start at some point as a counteroffer in response to the employer's offer, and then work your way down slowly. And then figure out what your bottom line is. Maybe your bottom line is the other counteroffer. Maybe your bottom line is economic because of your own financial wherewithal position where you need X dollars of income to satisfy your current economic status. So figure out a bottom line, figure out why you want that bottom line, and negotiate slowly down towards that. If the employer gets a little, just upset with your process, start to make them understand that, you are, you have value. You can improve the company's current position. If I can say this to you, if you can think like the owner of that company or the management of that company that you're trying to go into, think like them in terms of what they're selling, what they're doing, what service, et cetera. That will enable you to connect with them and figure out what their current problems are. You're not just filling a seat. I always try to ask people to think about, as an entrepreneurial type of thinking, really just a matter of, thinking out of the box approach when approaching a new job offer about the new employer, what they're facing, because they're hiring you because the last person that you're replacing probably didn't do the job very well. So they're looking for somebody to come in and do some change and to do it in a more creative way. That's why there's a new hire. And figure out, are you replacing somebody? Or is this a new developed position? Is it a new position with parts driven from different positions that they had maybe downsized or reorganized? And you need to figure out all the mechanics of what came about the new position you're being offered. Think out what happened, ask a lot of hard questions, listen to the responses about what they're saying to you. You'll learn a lot in terms of what has taken place to that point in time to see, is that the right fit job for you? I mean, it may not be if you hear the word. I was just by example reading a story in the Wall Street Journal this morning. Some folks went to a company. It was a new stock market that was trying to get approval by the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. But the article smack on the front page of the Wall Street Journal is the employees started getting indoctrinated into Scientology. And they didn't know that, and they started taking trainings and the like. It was a very long, so ask questions and figure out if the right fit for you in the particular job you're looking at by asking hard questions and seeing and listening to their reaction. So listening is really one of the important parts of negotiating. Listen to the tone, how somebody says something. When you pop a statement out that's pretty demonstrative or powerful, influential, whatever that's going to be, listen to the reaction. And it can tell a lot. And I do that all the time. Because sometimes with the good people or people who are really good at negotiating, judges and lawyers, you really have to just discern how it's being said, the pause, the hesitation, and look at and reaction. You can pick up patterns of how people are processing what's happening in real time. So negotiating requires listening skills uh, to discern what's taking place at a moment by moment, so you can, swift and dodge and maneuver to get what you need. But it's not a reactionary thing. You just want to listen for it, take notes, and reflect upon it, and then come up with your next move, so to speak. It's kind of like a chess game. So listening is very, very important to figure out what's not being said that's happening still in the room, even though it's not being said, or there's a how it's being reacted to, or the comment you're making by how their body movements or their voice and tone. So that's a little bit further expanded version of the negotiating the job offer. So next one is negotiating a raise. Okay, so you already have the job. And you've been a rock star, of course, because everybody thinks they're a rock star. They don't have any, negative side or red flags to them. And you feel you deserve more money now. This is a very different negotiation than a new job offer because you have a history with this employer, and the history is your leverage. Okay. So first thing is, it's not a one-time conversation when you're asking for a raise. And you should be documenting your accomplishments throughout the year, of course, in real time in email to your manager. Not necessarily, hey, I'm going to get the raise in a few months, but I'm going to send you this email. Just think, strategically through this process. Take your win, applaud others who are also responsible for that win at the same time, but, send some nice emails to your manager that you're not gloating about the win, but essentially later on you'll be able to use those emails and argue with your employer for a raise. So you want to keep these emails in a folder somewhere, and every time you exceed the expectations, save the email and the accomplishment, and or if you get the positive feedback from a client, or you've learned a new skill, or maybe you graduated and got your MBA. You write it all down, and this is your brag sheet. All right. So you schedule a meeting with your boss, and you frame it as a conversation about your career and your future with the company. And don't just show up and say, "I want more money." That's a guaranteed way not to get it, and you'll receive a no. Instead, the conversation should be recapping your value to the company. Quote unquote, in the past year, I've been responsible for a list of accomplishments, and you recognized me at certain dates, and you said the following to me about these accomplishments. So, then make your case for why your value has increased. Based on these contributions to my expanded role and responsibilities to the company, I believe my salary should increase by X dollars and be a fair reflection of the current market value for my current talents. You get the gist. So your argument's not based on your personal needs; it's based upon the business logic. So here, I'll take for example when people negotiate severance without any claim. I say, give me 10 things that you did recently that the employer knows, and they can agree that you did those things well, and that's the reason why you want to be compensated in negotiation beyond what they offered you, because without a claim, you really can't negotiate a severance increase other than what the employer offered you. So that's a goodwill negotiation. The job raise negotiations similar to that. You're obviously the difference is you're still working, and so in this circumstance, you want to come up with your list of accomplishments, that boys, or whatever it is that your company follows in terms of culture. But again, negotiating a raise, it's people approach this with sometimes the worst strategy possible, that they're deserving it because they just need it, or maybe they're economically pinched and they need it. It's really about, I believe, looking holistically at the employer from the employee's standpoint about how they've benefited the company in large measure that's real. The company has receives a large benefit of their work. But I'm trying to get at is you're a long timer in the employer. You plan to spend a long time with this employee that eat, drink, and crap the employer's culture, and you're not faking it. There are people there. I think that's probably currently less than 30% who are quote unquote called fully engaged. Uh, and maybe those people I'm thinking about that they live and breathe the company. But 70% of you, by the way, are disengaged, and you know who you are. It's basically people who are just taking a paycheck or hugging the job, so to speak, these days. They're not quitting and running to another job, but so that's a unique environment to be in today to ask for a raise. Most when you ask for a raise, employers are going to probably say no. So you have to do your homework to convince them to say yes. And what is the benefit they're going to gain from it? And you're working within the stack cards is against you here because companies are reorganizing and shoving more job duties on each employee already present. So you're getting basically more job duties, same pay. And if you didn't know this, that's a way of saving money for the company because they can make you do it because you don't have any leverage, or at least they think you don't. And it's happening currently in 2025. It may shift and move in lesser so, but companies are currently doing this to save money. They're also laying people off too. So asking for a raise is like you're battling uphill, but it doesn't mean you can't ask for it. You should. The other aspect of asking for a raise is that you believe and you're communicating to the employer that you deserve it and it's beneficial to the company, and you're making it with a straight face. You're not bullshitting the issue. It's real, and you operate with the facts that the company knows the same set of facts, and that you got to convince the employer that, well, if you don't incentivize me with a raise, like a bonus, but a raise is similar. It's long lasting. It's larger over time than a bonus. That you may want to jump ship. It's doable. You can make that employer believe that they can become insecure, that you may want to jump. You may want to throw in a raise or promotional change, whatever. Raise and promotions are kind of a similar thing, but making the employer feel insecure, sorry, about their position, that you may ditch them right in the middle of a huge project, whatever it is. And it's okay to do that because it's negotiation. Negotiation is not just one rule of thumb. It's an approach taken with a lot of information that you've gathered to understand the employer's strengths and weaknesses. You want to focus on the weakness part of it. Obviously, you're touting the strengths you have to benefit the employer, but targeting their insecurities. And I do this as a living. I target the insecurities of companies all the time. When I throw claims at them, for example, of whatever discrimination or something that's whistleblowing that's happened, they don't want that known by the public. So it's an insecurity. So that's the reason why they negotiate, because they don't want that publicly known. So it's an example, lawsuits, or at least threatened lawsuits, threat or target and shame employers before they're filed as a means to target their insecurities. Employers have them. You just don't know that because you're not in my line of work where I see it all the time. You can see that insecurity in the form of the cases we put up on the podcast. Employers are getting whacked for millions and millions of dollars because they have insecurities. They did something wrong, and if they want to play that hard game, they can lose, and they can get verdicts against them. And that's what the purpose of those cases are about, to showcase that. So employers are not. Long answer to all this about negotiating a raise, employers do have weaknesses. You need to exploit them. Find out what they are. They can be large and small, and exploit them, but don't do it in a way to, shame them or anything. Obviously, professional. You want to, you can sometimes intimate things, without saying things directly. You can say things, under your, by implicit nature of what you're saying, but do your homework about an employer. Don't just go in there and say, I want a raise. That's utterly crazy. And you want to I think I would give a raise to somebody who really took the time to understand what I was doing as an employer and went into detail about it and even came up with ideas that I didn't even think of. That shows to me that the employee is, believing in the core mission that we're setting out to do, above and beyond just, collecting a paycheck. Collecting paycheck people can be easily spotted, by the way, and you don't want to be one of them. You want to be the person who's making a paycheck, or at least making your employer feel that you're a very valuable resource to the company, and employers know the two different types of people. There's people who take paychecks and sit on their jobs and they job hug because they didn't get, they're engaged, but they're not fully engaged. I mean, we have a really harsh current circumstance today in this workforce of 70% of the employee population are disengaged. If you don't understand what that means, it means that people are just going to work, waiting for Friday and collecting a paycheck. I mean, that's not a great position to be in on a kind of nationwide basis, but you don't want to be in that crowd. If you want to fake it and make it look like you're in the other crowd of 30% who are engaged, those are the go-getters. Those are the people who are thinking out of the box. They're not backstabbing at work. They are playing the game critically. They are measured steps. And negotiating a raise is a measured step. So you want to be in that category. So it's kind of a nod out to this issue. If you think you're disengaged at work, change your mindset about this into the engaged part, even if you have to fake it, but be realistic about your faking it. Maybe you'll fake it to the point where you actually do enjoy your job again, but maybe you're disengaged for a lot of other reasons, but understand why you're disengaged. It's really an unhealthy position to be in, and the current, thinkers of the world don't really understand the why part. They just tell you the statistic, Gallup in particular. So negotiating a raise, there's a lot goes into it. Just like the job offer, negotiation, as you can hear it, it's got a lot of nuance to it. It's a lot of style. What is your style, for example? Ask yourself that. Mine is kind of a blunt force trauma approach to it. Typically worst case scenario, and I kind of throw it all at the employer factually. I don't engage in tiptoe approach. I just say, here is everything you need to understand what is going on in this particular case, or if you're negotiating a raise, everything that's going on here as I see it, Mr. Employer. And it can be the good, the bad, and the ugly. It shows a comprehensive approach to it. So approach negotiation like that. Style is my other part of my style, just negotiating. I really didn't talk about this so far, is a consistency approach. I'm going to start with a telegraphed assortment of things that I'm going to do, or if you know me well enough, you can just ask colleagues on the opposing side and find out, here's what Carey does. And that's fine, because it might be deliberate on my part to let people know that that's what I do, because I may have a game strategy that's different than that. Let's say I come to the table with, all guns a-blazing at the negotiating table, and then I do an about face, and I do something proactively positive. It has a lot of compassion for the employer, kind of a mind screw for the employer. So think about the psychology and the style that you're using for negotiating. You're going to have to figure out what your own style is. Typically, it's characteristically driven by your own personality, but give it a thought. It does matter. And a well-orchestrated negotiating strategy and style can look like just think of a person who's slow in their response to the things that are arising during this discussion. They're thought through, they're digested. Not necessarily the person who's very reactive. I know a lot of attorneys that want to just scream and shout at me. They're not very effective. They just whine like little children. So you have to figure out your style. And I'm always looking to assess that. Who's my opponent? What's their like? I look them up before I go meet them. I look up judges before I go talk to them. Anything I can get to figure out who my opponent is going to adjust the style of the cap I'm going to wear for the day, because I'm going to change character. I can be a lot of characters. So it's a little bit of acting in this approach when you're negotiating. And so, as you can see, there's a lot to negotiating. There's a lot of nuance to it. So it's just simply not asking for a raise. It's so much more. Now, the next thing is negotiating things about your job that don't involve money. It's about anything and everything related to your job. So it can go like this: the work-life balance, the professional development, a new title, how about a start date? And so work-life balance. Well, hell, we just went through that entire discussion in the last 3-4 years, and now we're at the back end of that discussion of work-life balance because most of you are being ordered back to work. In my office, we never did that. We were remote work from before the pandemic happened, and people are fine. And by the way, you can be successful as a business and have people work remotely. It does work. The only reason people are put back to work is because of rents. Employers have to pay rents. So the work-life balance is an important aspect for a lot of people. If you have a medical issue, or if you have childcare needs, et cetera, that's going to be an issue. It's a non-monetary thing. You need to negotiate that. And let's just target this a little bit. Are there other people in the organization who currently work there that have remote work? Why do they have it? If the employer has a blanket approach to it, I'm sorry, but the only way to get around that blanket approach, if all go back to work, et cetera, is if you have a disability of some form. And you have to document that and make an argument why you need a remote work schedule to accommodate your disability, whatever that may be, physical, mental, nervous. So work-life balance it also is if the employer doesn't have a blanket approach to basically all people work at the office and they don't allow for remote work, you have to then dig down into, do I present a value to the organization that I can negotiate a one-off because I'm special, meaning you are special. We know you're special. But I'm being funny. But, is there anything unique about you that the employer wants to bend over a little bit backwards for you, even though others will see it, to allow you to work remotely? Okay. So there is that circumstance, and you want to play politics to get that. The professional development aspect, it's the company pay for certifications, conferences, advanced degrees. That type of professional development benefits the employer. For example, I just told employees, read the newspapers because I want them to read and learn or just hear about current topics. And I said, I'll pay for your subscription. The other thing is, I pay for, a gym membership because they need to get out of the computer work seat and go just exercise because it's very important because we spend our time in our seats. At least I don't do that. I definitely get out there and exercise. But professional development is a feature, but it's not monetary related, and it benefits both you and the employer, of course. So you can negotiate that. A new title, it's similar to the raise, and it's non-monetary. This one I don't really see so much as it's more of a reputational thing. If you need it, I see employers do this, and this is why I'm so negative on it. They always they award new titles as something of like value to you, but in reality you're still doing the same job. Or maybe they gave you more responsibility, but they didn't give you more pay. So screw you, the new title. I don't care. Or they get fuzzy with changing from director levels to some other or senior VP to some change, but in reality it's still the same job. And who knows why they do it? It's kind of weird, but blame HR, I guess. You can negotiate the start date of when you want to start. So that's actually an issue that comes up a lot of times with when you're leaving a job and you're negotiating a severance. I tell clients that you want to try to orchestrate the severance execution of the agreement and give a little time, a week or two, for maybe a vacation. You need a little break to start the new job. A lot of times the new employer is going to want to rush you right in because they don't give a shit. They just want to have you start, and they want to just check that box and say that we're done with that project. We got a new hire and begin the training process. So you can negotiate the start date. So as you can see, the negotiating process with the employer is nuanced. It can take a longer period of time. more than just a one-off conversation. It's going to take a lot of diligence on your part to understand what the employer needs, how you can benefit them, and it takes some, artistic creation on your part of your style. You may even learn that you become a more articulate negotiator doing other parts of your job because of that process. And if you don't challenge yourself to learn new skills, here it's negotiation skills, and really, there are tons of books you can read about this. I gave one example, Getting to Yes, which is a famous book. So take the time if you are serious about asking, trying to get a new job or asking for a raise or non-monetary perks for the job. Take the time to put together your game plan and then orchestrate it well, and have some flexibility with it, of course. But then also even create a secondary position to potentially you may have another job offer elsewhere. Even if you've been at this job for 20 years, you may have another job lined up. I mean, so you want to really think strategically about your negotiation. It's more than just a one-off. It's a process, and you have to expect the unexpected through the process and be able to pivot with certain things that happens. That happens a lot in my legal cases, and we do that. So I hope you enjoyed this part of negotiation as a skill set to learn. I'll come up with other topics in negotiating as well. I'll come up with other topics that allow you to learn skill sets as part of your job. The Employee Survival Guide is going to do that for you. In addition to the basic baseline of legal and knowledge base, you're going to get that. But we're going to jump even further in making you a really good candidate for all your employers and make you successful doing what you're doing. That's what the Employee Survival Guide is really about. All right? Take care and have a good week. If you like the Employee Survival Guide, I'd really encourage you to leave a review. We try really hard to produce information to you that's informative, that's timely, that you can actually use and solve problems on your own and at your employment. So if you like to leave a review anywhere you listen to our podcast, please do so. And leave 5 stars, because anything less than 5 is really not as good, right? I'll keep it up. I'll keep the standards up. I'll keep the information flowing at you. If you'd like to send me an email and ask me a question, I'll actually review it and post it on there. You can send it to mcarey@capclaw.com. That's capclaw.com.